Thanks very much for joining us. It's great to have your company. And today we're going to be looking at diving into one of the biggest questions that gets asked if you're a parent. And it's about really state school or private school. What's the best option to choose? And Spain, certainly with the Costa del Sol, having more selections of education than anywhere else in Spain, it's quite important to have a think about what's best for you on your journey. Now, to help me tackle this, because it's quite a discussion really, I think there's pros and cons and benefits to each side of this. I've got two excellent guests with me. Now, the first is passionate about state school. It's Rebecca from Marbella Interiors. Hello to you. And we've got Biscuit with us as well. There's Biscuit. Oh, having a little sleep there.
I'm very Marbella today with my chihuahua.
Very Marbella. Yeah, she's gorgeous. So you're going to be helping us talk about the benefits of state school.
State schools. I apologise if I call them public schools. That's just a translation from the Spanish.
It is, absolutely. And we'll come back to you in just a second. But to help us also from the other side, from Next Nest, it's Marjorie. Marjorie, good to see you as well.
See you.
And you're going to be having a chat with us also about the benefits of looking at the private school sector as well. That's great. So before we start, Rebecca, tell us a little bit about you, because the reason that you ladies are here, and including myself as well, is that we are all parents, aren't we? We've been there, we've done it, we've gone through the education system with them and still at it as well.
Yeah.
Tell us firstly, Rebecca, about you. How long have you been on the coast, and tell us about your family?
I moved to Spain quite young. And I went to Spanish school originally and then to an international school. So I experienced both, and then to a university in the UK. I've been on the coast now since I graduated university, so the year 1999, so quite a long time. Yeah. And my son was born here. I'm not going anywhere. We're staying here. So when we were looking into schooling, it was very much what's the best option that really means that he could integrate. And that we're part of the community we live in. And that's why we went with the state schools, because I felt it was the best fit for our family.
Yeah, good. So you're obviously running your successful company here, Marbella Interiors. Tell us a quick bit about that before we move on, because it's also nice to mention.
Thank you. We offer all-inclusive furniture packs for mainly overseas buyers. We're online based, we're web based, dedicated to people who buy second homes here. Time short. There are so many furniture shops, there's so many options, and we really narrow it down for them. Do offer a full inclusive service to help with all of that.
That's really handy to know. Excellent, thanks. So Marjorie, Next Nest, I know we've chatted before as well. You offer a great service down here, don't you? And this is really relevant today to help any of your clients watching as well about that important decision when it comes to schooling. Tell us a bit about your company.
Sure. I run a relocation services for families looking to move over to Marbella. So one of the main things that families do ask for is schools. So what are the school options that I have? And I also help with property searches and finding the right lawyer for you to get settled in, and the entire process from before, during, and also after.
Okay, right. And you're a mum?
Yes, mom of 4.
Mum of 4. Wow. Tell us the ages.
Oldest one is 14. Then I have 11, 6, and 4.
But if we were to start first off, Rebecca, what made you choose state school initially for your...
It was all down to learning the language. I did a lot of research I wanted to make sure that Elliot had both languages very well. I've met people who have had children who they've never really mastered either. And I always think it's such a shame, they speak really good Spanish, but don't write in English and things like that. And I really wanted to master both. And it was really down to having a bilingual child was speaking English at home completely. And then out of the home is having completely Spanish. So we went to a completely Spanish nursery. And then at 3 years old, started in the state school. And we did have the option, because of where our house is, right in the centre of town, there are 2 options of school, because your school is very much based on your address. So when you do the application, you are allocated a school. It's not down to choosing. There was one that was offering a bilingual option, which is a thing in the state schools. Now, it's not bilingual in that everybody speaks both languages. There are certain aspects to help children learn English. But I went for the one that didn't have that, because I really wanted him to be able to really get the language really, really well written and spoken. And that was purely the decision that we made.
Now, it's interesting because I'm quite balanced on this conversation because I've got experience, obviously, of having the state school when we first came out, and then we went to private Spanish as well. And I think one of the reasons we chose this particular area 13, 14 years ago to come and live, it was Benavis where we're living. We actually picked what the best state school would be. And we put our children at the age of 4, well, 3.5 and 5 at the time, into Benevis, Colegio Died, which is up in the village there, because it had such a great reputation. And it was, I think it was something about our decision really was because we wanted to integrate our children into society, into the Spanish way. Incidentally, though, at the time, Benevis had such a huge population of expat Brits in there.
There are a lot of expats in the
The
diving
school actually became almost like
Yeah.
a British English-speaking school,
Yeah.
but it had all the values of Spain, and the teachers actually had to be a little bit bilingual, but ultimately it was on the Spanish curriculum, and it had all the traditional values of Spain as well, even to the point where they had to take their own packs of paper in.
Oh yeah,
and the
absolutely.
books.
You have to. You
Is
get
it
a
toilet
list.
rolls? Or some,
Yeah.
toilet rolls.
You
Well,
get a list through, and you have to take a pack of tissues, a roll of kitchen roll, all your own, a pack of coloured card, a pack of white card. None of these materials are supplied.
yes.
The actual books now are supplied, textbooks, and they're shared. You pass them on for 3 years, and then they get a new set. So you've got to take good care of them.
Well, let's come back to that in a little bit more detail shortly. But Marjorie, why do you think parents are likely to choose the benefits of obviously going to a private school? Why do you think that should be a choice for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it really matters where they came from. So most of the kids don't speak Spanish. Most of my clients, they don't speak Spanish. So moving them straight in is a very
Be a real
difficult
shock to the system.
transition,
Especially if they're a bit older as well. Yeah.
especially older, correct? And a lot of parents prefer for their children to continue with the curriculum that they've been doing and then also graduate with a degree that is recognized by their home universities or more international universities. So I think for parents, it's like the easier choice, the more logical choice for many.
Yeah.
But of course, you don't get that entire cultural integration.
No, but I do agree that if there is a situation, some people maybe think that we're coming for 2 or 3 years. If you want to give somebody the opportunity to be able to go back to their home country, I really understand why you would want that continuation of the system.
Yeah, because a lot of the schools here, and this is why it's important. We can talk about some of the schools, the private ones, in a minute, because some of them offer different options, don't they, that are relevant to the countries, obviously, where perhaps your clients may be coming from, or viewers, families might be coming from. So it could be related to the UK or Scandinavia or the US or anywhere like that. So each school might cater for that individually, mightn't they? We'll come to that in just a second. But if we were to think about some of the benefits again, obviously of state school, it's free, isn't it?
It is.
If you can
apart from
prove
toilet rolls.
Yeah, exactly. So that's handy.
No,
it's
it
free.
is. It is free.
Obviously, it's not just about showing up, going, "Can our children come into school?"
There's
though?
quite a lot of paperwork involved. There are certain months. I think it's April. April is the cutoff for filling in the forms to apply for the next September. So you have to make sure that you have to have your address. So if you're buying a property, you can't complete on a property in August and your child starts that school in September. There is a process. There are people there's assessors and things that will help you with it and things.
Yeah, so you need to plan that.
You
don't
need to plan it,
Yeah.
and it's not online. So you do have to physically. I mean, I'm on quite a lot of Facebook pages and things like that, expat pages, and people saying, "Oh, I've been trying to phone the school to see if I can get my child in." You have to physically go to the office. The high tech there it's getting there. It's getting better. There is a great there's an app now that the school has where it communicates with you and things like that. But there is a process involved. But it's worth it. I do think it's worth doing because it's like I say that the funding is not huge for the state schools. The buildings are quite old. There's no aircon. I actually bought a floor standing fan for my child's classroom because they were so hot this year. Yeah. I took 2 fans into the classroom because I went in one day and I was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
This is
So do
really
you think
hot.
that changes with different regions? Because obviously my
Absolutely.
children went to Benevis. It's a very rich municipal, isn't it? And
Yeah.
San Pedro, where you are,
San Pedro, and there are 6 schools in San Pedro, which you wouldn't believe for the size of it, but there are 6 primary schools, 5, 6, and they're all full. And so the money is spread, but what they do spend the money on is what's important. The teachers are great. The teachers in my son's school particularly, and obviously I can't speak for the other ones, but particularly the headmaster and they really are dedicated to the children. And they really do pull out all the stops. And if there are any children with issues or learning disabilities or anything like that, they're really there for them. You know, I have a friend whose daughter's got a learning disability, and it was decided that there was no need for her to do the French class. So when the rest of the class were doing French, she sat with the headmaster. He took it in his time, and he did things like going to the shops, money, reading road signs, little things like life lessons for her. And that he didn't need to do that. So it's that little dedication, the fact that it's a real vocation for the teachers.
It's funny actually, because I found as well, I don't know if this is politically correct or if it's changed now, but they were always very cuddly and quite close to the pupil. You couldn't do that probably anywhere, but it seems to be, or it's certainly a few years ago, where the teacher would come up and give them a little hug in the morning, and I thought that was lovely.
Yes, they do become very close. The school starts at 3, which is quite young, and a lot of people do. Oh my God, they're babies because it's on the calendar year as well. So if you're not 3 until December, you still start school. So they're 2.5.
Yeah, babies.
So they're very little, but it is a very nurturing environment. They're not learning. They're learning how to sit on a chair. They're learning how to do their shoelaces. That, you know, it's a very, very close environment. It's nice.
Yeah. So we're talking state school. We're talking free. We're talking about limited resources sometimes. And of course, as the increasing demand comes, that perhaps classroom space gets a little bit tight, doesn't it? So when we're looking, Marjorie, that maybe at the private sector, yes, it can cost money, can't it? And quite a bit as well. Incidentally, I don't think it's as expensive as the UK private schools, from what I've learned, and maybe from the States as well. I mean, what's your opinion on it? How does the price sit with that?
It's definitely a lot cheaper than UK and definitely than the US. It's about, on average, like it changes. So the older your child is, the more expensive it is, and also depends between the schools, but it's around 20,000 euros per year.
Yeah, per child.
Per child.
Yeah. Okay.
The UK public school, as you call it in the UK, wouldn't it? Private school. I mean, you're probably looking at that per term.
Yes. Yeah, this is what I've heard as well. But of course, you know, when we talk about limited facilities for state school, some of the schools that we're seeing now are pretty spectacular, aren't they? You know, the private schools where we've got air conditioning. We've got
when it's 40 degrees, it would be the basic minimum. But you know,
my children had iPads and things like. What's kind of usually what you're seeing with the schools? What are some of the perks of the private sector?
Definitely. I mean, right now there's been such an influx of families moving to Marbella that there's become competition between the schools. So each of them are trying to create a better environment for the children. So they are very much like trying to outdo each other. With, you know, nice fields, playing fields, technology, theaters, all that kind of thing. So, and also the food offerings. So they're really, you know, trying to.
They are
up their
very
game.
impressive.
Even in the 4 years that I've been here, my children's school has gone from a great school to a really amazing, outstanding school. We're really quite impressed with the jump that they've made.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about some of the schools, one that always stands out is Aloha College. What's your thoughts on Aloha?
I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful school. It's actually where my kids go. What I really like about the system here with the private schools is that they go from 3 until 18. So you don't have to switch schools for secondary, primary.
Of course, yeah.
That makes it really easy. If you have kids of different ages, and you just put them in and all the way through they go. But yeah, I mean, Aloha College is a non-for-profit college. So all the money that comes in goes back into the school.
So I heard there was 100% pass rate in 2024. Is that
For the
right?
IB, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Now we've got other schools like Swansea International. There's another one that pops up there as well. You know, we're finding, I mean, they're known for the IB. Now the IB is the International Baccalaureate, isn't it? Which is widely accepted and acknowledged, isn't it?
Yes.
And would you recommend that that's a good one to follow internationally?
Definitely. I mean, a lot of the schools, they have their own. So British system will also offer, well, Aloha offers also A levels. So if that's your preference. Some schools don't offer A level at all. So if you really want the A level, you have to be careful what schools you're looking at. But the International Baccalaureate, the IB, is recognized worldwide. So it's kind of your most easy diploma to get into whichever university, wherever in the world you want to be studying.
Yeah, sure. And to mention just a couple more, because we've mentioned Aloha and Swans, we've got the English International College. This is the EIC. And this is a smaller school, very academic, and they they're the A-level, British A-levels, aren't they, as well? But we're seeing more demand from the US, a lot of Americans coming over, and there's some schools that really stand out, I think, from the Atlas School in Estepona. And that's a lovely big school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brand new. Well, maybe running now for about 3, 4 years. The campus is amazing. And it offers the American curriculum, which is very different to the British curriculum. So if that is what people or families are used to, it's a very easy transition, and they can graduate either with AP or IB. So there you have the choice as well.
Yeah, sure. And then you've got obviously Soto Grande. That comes up a lot now as a lovely big school. It's one of the
It's always had a great reputation.
very good reputation, hasn't it? Yeah. And again, I think it's quite expensive though, isn't it? Or
It offers boarding. So if you
yes.
choose to do the boarding, it's flexi boarding, so you can take the kids on the weekend. But yeah, if that's what you're looking for. But also, Soto Grande is not too far away. It's 45 minutes away. So if you live in Marbella and send your child to Soto Grande, that's very workable.
I have a friend who lives the other side of Marbella, and her children board during the week in Soto Grande. They come home at weekends.
Wow. That's good, isn't it? Now, we've spoken about that side. Of course, if you head down to Mijas and Fuengirola and places like that, we've got obviously other options down there as well that could be worth looking into, which do offer that if you're heading down that neck of the woods. Okay, so we've kind of spoken about the benefits of private school and how wonderful it is and what you can achieve. But Rebecca, what do you think the biggest benefits state schools can give that no private school could match? There's a question.
I think that it's you're completely integrated into the society, into the local town. You've got local friends. You really become part of the Spain that you're living in and understand the lifestyle. I've always felt that the international schools, the private schools, are sort of set slightly apart. And even just down to the hours, the school hours are different. Spanish school, the state school, is from 9 until 2. And you can stay for lunch, you can stay for, but generally people pick their children up at 2 and everybody goes home and have their big lunch. And then you have all your activities in the afternoon, all your sports and things.
Yes.
They're that's separate. So you've got English academies, sports clubs. That's, as a parent, you arrange that, and that's everything. That's kind
So
of
is that
private
included with that? So
that's
these
all
have to
completely
be
separate. You pay for all that. They're not expensive.
Right.
I mean, my son goes to the San Pedro Basketball Club, has done since he was 6. They're amazing. He trains 3 times a week. They're federated. We travel all over the coast, playing matches on the weekend, and that costs me €400 a year. And it's amazing. And the trainers are great. And again, it's that dedication to all of that. But it's a very different. You have to be very involved as a parent to get the most out of the Spanish state system. And if that's what you want, that's great. My business, I purposely work online so that I have that flexibility. I've had furniture suppliers come down with the big vans to show me their new collection, and they've actually parked outside the sports pavilion so I can nip out during a match, and I've shown things like that. I've got that flexibility with that. But it's really becoming and really understanding the Spanish way of life and the Spanish family values.
I think for me, one of the only hurdles I experienced with state school when we first took the kids in there, we had the sort of day one introduction when you take your kids in there and you get a briefing from the school teachers from their, the kids' respective year groups or whatever. And what I found was, though, I hadn't got a clue what was going on because everything is
very
Spanish.
overwhelming.
Yeah, and they don't say, well, we don't really care that you're English.
No.
We are speaking in Spanish. So if you can get over that hurdle or have a
Some of the
translator.
forms sometimes I've lived here since I was 9, and sometimes I look at a form and think, okay, I'm going to need help with this one,
But I have to say, we've got some lovely memories of state school and, just the Christmas festival times and all that. It's very family orientated, isn't it?
Great traditions.
Yeah,
and,
it's lovely traditions.
they don't do, like when I was a kid, when I was at school in the UK, you had your nativity, didn't you, at Christmas? You don't do that, but you always have your big fiesta fin de curso. So in June, when everybody finishes, every class learns a dance. So they pick a song, they all learn a dance, and it goes on for hours.
Yeah, and you sit there, don't you?
And you are so hot, and and you're all in the school playground. But it's just really lovely, and I have made the most amazing friends through school, through having to.
Now, are these
help.
expats? Are these these are Spanish?
There are Spanish, they're Moroccan, Filipino. There's a Ukrainian family. There are, because of where our school is, because it's right in the centre of town. There were very few people live in the catchment areas that are actually more now, but when we first started. So there are actually very few English people at the primary school. That said, Elliot started at the high school this September, which has a wider catchment, and it actually covers Benahavi. So there are more. He got quite excited because there's a child that speaks English in his class.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very. But if you were in different areas, like you say with Benahavis, you would have more
Sure.
expats.
Yeah, and what I did find as well with my two, that they did struggle a bit when because they came out of school in the UK, and they went there and they were learning in Spanish all the time, but actually they were taking it in. And it was only till they came out of that school, we put them into Spanish private, which was Albaran in Alveria, which is a lovely school actually. They realized that they're taking it all in, and they were communicating in Spanish and English, and they are bilingual now.
I think something to remember is that the private schools aren't just the international ones. So you've got, for instance, the San Jose in San Pedro, which is very highly regarded school. So it's a Spanish private one.
Yeah.
So if you want that language and the integration, but maybe, you know, air conditioning in the classrooms.
And they had horse riding. Ours had horse riding as well. It was wonderful actually. Yeah, really good. So question for you, Marjorie. Now some say private schools are just kind of expensive echo chambers, and how do you respond to sometimes maybe the criticism that parents are paying for exclusivity rather than education?
I think it's a really personal choice. So it really is up to the families to decide what kind of environment they're looking for. And in terms of, you know, the differences between what you were just mentioning. So the private schools, they do tend to go all day, you know, till 3.
Yeah.
And then after 3:30, they're the after school activities, which are all in-house. So you can have basketball, you do football, you can do music, you know, all sorts of, which is more in line with, I think, how schools are run in the UK and in the US. However, on the language side, they do get by law, you have to take 1 hour of Spanish every day. But I have to say, having lived here for 4 years, my kid's Spanish is nowhere near where it should be.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of families do choose to also give an extra hour via tutor or something like that, because that 1 hour is just not enough per day. So if learning Spanish is your main objective, then I don't think the sending your child to one of the international private schools is not gonna achieve that. But the offering is amazing. So if you do want to leave your child in we start at 9 o'clock and then we finish at 3:30, and then the after school activities are all there.
And it does make it easier when you're a working parent. I mean, I must say, you know, sometimes I am running ragged, trying to do school pickup, and now he's older, he's actually getting the bus, which is provided for. So there is there is a free bus that he gets at the end of our road that takes him to the Instituto now, and it brings him home again. So it just gives you that little, once they start getting older, it gives you that flexibility.
Yeah, well, we do this with the private schools as well. There's a
They
bus
have
service,
bus
isn't there, which is great as well. It's nice to put them on the bus. And
I mean, I'm a huge supporter of the state system, and I've had a great experience. But every year we have said we will assess, and I've said to these before, is that, you know, you want what's best for your child, and everybody knows their child, and everybody knows what they're capable of and what makes them happy, and that's all you really want in the long term, whether it's you know, wherever they are. And we've literally said, you know, when he finishes in June every year, we'll look at the situation. When he starts again in September, you know, and every year we've said, if we need to change schools, if we need to go to national school, if he needs to go to the UK, whatever, we will just. But every year we've been. Whether we've been lucky,
that's great,
or whatever, we've been over the moon, and it's worked.
Marjorie, what's your thoughts on the return on investment, do you think?
Well, it really depends on the child, what the child makes of the school.
Course,
the school does as much as they can to make sure that they have the support that they need to achieve their potential. But at the end of the day, it does depend on the child. I have to say, though, looking at the results from the IB and the results that the private schools get here, they are above average, well above average. And the kind of universities that the kids get into are really impressive. So return on investment, I can't really say, because I think it depends what you mean by that. But if you mean getting into a top university, or do you mean getting, an amazing cultural experience where you learn the language. It's so
Yeah.
personal.
It is.
So
It is. Yeah. And it
I think
depends
it's
on the
what,
child. Yeah.
and it's down on the parents as well. I
Mm.
mean, I was earwigging it was out at the park, and there was a dad complaining that he was having to help his child with homework, and he's like, "I'm paying a fortune for this private school. Why should I have to get involved with homework?" And I thought, well, it's not just about paying somebody else to bring up your child. It doesn't matter how much you're paying, you still have to sometimes sit down with them and help them with the homework, whatever school they go to.
It's hard work when they do that, isn't it? I haven't got a clue sometimes. When they
Well,
bring
yeah,
I
especially
can't do it. I can't. What are you talking about? What it is? What is that?
On the
We're
homework,
trying a
though,
foreign language.
the homework that they give here, they're actually really gentle with the children
Are they?
compared to what they were, how my kids were raised in the UK. We were in Britain before, and they get very little homework compared to what we
Well,
got
do they get
there.
to, because when we had our children in Alvaran in Algeria, they had like a homework club if they took the bus back later.
Really?
So after school they would do like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they wouldn't get back till 6. And the only downside of that, the upside would be when they got home, they could have dinner and then relax a bit. But it was a long day, from 8 o'clock in the morning pickup. And yet, once you're on that bus, you're in school mode anyway.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't get back to maybe 6:30. It's a long day for
very
them,
long
isn't it?
day.
Tired
But
little
they're
things.
able to do it.
I know,
They
yeah.
have that energy that I couldn't do their hours, but they have that energy that keeps on going. And for one way or another, they're able to make it through. My kids get home like 6:37.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
sure.
But then if they were in the Spanish system, they'd be finishing earlier. But then their after school activities, for instance, we don't sometimes finish basketball till 9:30. So that's quite late. So it's a you get the big rest in the middle,
Yeah.
but then you go quite late.
What's the biggest memory for you? A lovely memory from state school that you remember from your little and going in? Any event that happened that you think,
I
that
think
was
just
because of the state school?
just the overwhelming feeling of acceptance and that they were cared for. I wasn't worried about him. The teachers were just really nurturing. I've never worried about whether he's safe, or when you hear these awful stories in America and these terrible, these terrible things that happen. I've never had anything. I'm content that he's happy and he's looked after, and that they will do the best for him. Whenever you have any issues, you talk to them about it, and they don't brush you off. They really do address the issues.
Marjorie, what about you? Something from your children that you think, oh wow, that was such a great memory of the kids at school, and event. What anything
I
happened?
mean, there's so many,
Yeah.
but also our teachers, they are incredibly nurturing. And if a child needs a little bit of extra support in something, they will, help them come up the curve. If there are behavioral issues, if the kids are getting in trouble, they put them on a chart. They just make sure that this child is really nurtured, looked after academically, but also well-being wise, and making sure they are raising, little humans, and they are really taking the private schools here, they do take ownership of that, making sure that they produce well-rounded children and people for society.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well let's team up on this one with state and private. So anyone watching that perhaps needs a bit of a checklist, needs to kind of know some quick advice
Yeah.
if they're thinking about coming over. Now, obviously, we talked about curriculum. That's important, isn't it, Marjorie? What's your advice there with deciding what curriculum?
Yep. So one really important point that I think I should mention is if the English level, a lot of these schools have an English assessment. So if you're not a fluent or native English speaker, they will ask you to sit an assessment. Most of the schools won't take in children who are not at a certain level of English. There are some, and I will mention the name Lauda School in San Pedro. They will take in children who don't have that proficiency yet, and then make sure that they do get up to it, and then based on that,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, that's
So
really
language is
good
really
advice. Yeah, that's really good. So to pick the curriculum, usually it's going to be relevant to the country of origin,
Exactly.
maybe as
Yeah,
well. To
but even if it's British curriculum, as most of the schools here are, they take in children from all over the world. So even if you're not used to the British curriculum, it's very easy to transition into that and understanding that.
Okay, sure. Now you mentioned this as well. Some advice would be to get in early, wouldn't it,
Yeah,
Rebecca?
but don't be afraid of the system. Because it can be overwhelming, and there's so much involved with paperwork, and people can get very overwhelmed with Spain and ID cards and NIEs and all that kind of thing. But it is worth the effort. But literally go and visit the local school. They will welcome you, and they will help you with the process. And even if, I've said to people in the past, even if in the long term you want to put your child into national school because you don't know if you're going to stay here for a long time, do it for a year maybe. Let them give that opportunity to really bond with the community, learn the language, and then maybe consider an international school afterwards if you're worried about the academic level.
We did that. Yeah, it's exactly what we
like
did.
you
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
You know, because the academic level is very achievable. You know, my son's coming out with he's a clever kid and he works. If you've got a child that you're worried about whether they're going to achieve, they will still achieve if they want to.
Yes.
If they want to do it.
Yeah, of course. And actually getting in early, we've got to be mindful of this, Marjorie, because we might say choose a lower or Laude or San Jose or whatever, but some of these have got big waiting lists, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, all the schools have waiting lists, the main ones, they really do. So you want to get started in the autumn of the year before you move here.
Yeah.
Autumn, and then after that, you know, come Christmas and Christmas break, they're all full and full. Like now, you might, if one child leaves, you might get a chance to get in, but it's very difficult. What I've noticed for my clients is that one child will get into one school because there's space, the other one won't because there isn't space. So it becomes very complicated. So the earlier you can get your skates on and start applying, tour the school, do the assessments, because they also have to do written academic assessments, English assessments, then the better off you are.
Yeah. I mean, some of these schools are pretty impressive, though, aren't they? When you look at them, you think, oh, I've got to go there. But actually, would you say it's wise to look a bit deeper and see what's best for you?
Definitely. You want to go meet the admissions person. You want to tour the school, get a feel for their ethos, what the environment is like. There are some schools that are more lenient, some of them more modern, others that are more traditional. So you really, by visiting the schools, you can't get this from the website. You have to visit.
Yeah.
You'll get a feel and you'll figure out which one is best for your child.
And I think take your child with you as well, because children do have an instinct, you know, and they could walk in and kind of, I don't like this one, Mom, or I like it here. And I think that's important as well.
So thank you so much, ladies, for coming in today.
Thank you for
It's
inviting me.
absolutely super just to talk it through. There's also, of course, there's the benefits of doing private, the benefits of doing state school, but really it's down to the parents, isn't it, and the family situation and where they're at. And really, I guess it's up to you. So thanks ever so much for watching, and leave us some comments in the comments section below of what you think of today's discussion and perhaps where you'd want to put your children, or maybe you have done and you've benefited from the state school or private. Thanks again, Rebecca from Marbella Interiors, at Marjorie for Next Nest. It's great to see you. Hopefully see you very soon as well. And from all of us here at the moment, we'll catch you next time.